we should start. I've been asked to chair this session. My name's Chris Manning, and I'm an adjunct fellow at the ANU with the Indonesia Project, and I'm delighted to be here. This is the fourth of the Development Research Network workshops, amongst the biggest, and certainly there's a very exciting program. So my job is first to introduce the two organizers of this event, Asep Suryahadi and Budy Resosudarmo. Asep from SMERU, of course you all know him, otherwise you wouldn't be here. and Budy is head of the Indonesia Project at the ANU. And this, of course, is a collaborative operation between those two organizations. So, without further ado, Asep, over to you.
Terima kasih, Pak Chris. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. On behalf of the SMERU Research Institute and also Indonesia Project of the Australian National University, I would like to warmly welcome you to this workshop, the 2016 Indonesian Development Research Network workshop. I see familiar faces here, as well as new ones actually, because the arrangement for these workshops is a bit different from the previous one. We will have 2-day workshop like the previous ones, but in the first day, today in the morning, we will have some invited speakers, and we are happy here to have our colleagues from BIES, Ben, from IFLS, Pak Firman, and from GPEL, Bu Lina, who will share their own works to us all here. So hopefully we can get benefit from what they will provide to us later. Then in the afternoon, we will present to you the results of our call for papers, which was announced several months ago. So we have selected the best 4 papers of the submissions that we received. And I think all already here today, so we will enjoy their presentations in the afternoon. And tomorrow we will showcase the recipients from our small grant research. There are 8 of them, so it will be quite packed tomorrow. I think the chairs have to work very hard to make sure about the timing. Otherwise, we may end the workshop in the middle of the night. Okay. On behalf of the organizers, again, we thanks for those who have come today. I think we have quite a diversity here. We have representative from Aceh to Papua, in addition to our colleagues from Australia, and we also have a special guest from far away, from the UK, Andy Sumner. Welcome, Andy. Nice to meet you. If you need any assistance, please contact one of our staff in the back, especially Dian outside. Finally, I have 2 announcements from the organizer. First, this event will be live streamed through our website www.smeru.or.id/streaming. So I hope the audience from outside this room in Indonesia, in Australia, and all over the world can also join us. And we may request your assistance to promote this event using hashtag IDRN 2016. So we hopefully more people can join us with the help of your promotions. I think that's from me. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Kemudian Pak Budy.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, on behalf of SMERU and Indonesia Project, I would like to welcome you also to this Research Network workshop, the fourth time we're doing this one. And second, on behalf of the Indonesia Project, I would like to thank SMERU for the collaboration that we have in the last 3 years doing this activity. I also would like to thank DFAT Australian Aid for their general support so that we can do this activity. So the main idea of these activities is I just want to remind everybody that we trying to contribute to strengthening research in Indonesia by providing a seed grant allowing Indonesian academic to collaborate with Australian academic. So this is a seed grant, and hopefully after this they could develop a bigger activities. And so in each of our workshop, we actually trying to give information what they can do after this. So tonight we have Pak Sumantri Brojonegoro, who are actually an important person in developing DP. DP is Dana Ilmu Pengetahuan Indonesia. So they are in Australia equivalent to ARC, and in the US probably equivalent to National NSF. And it is a new initiative. This year will be the first time, and it is you can apply for 3 years, and the maximum amount of grant is 1.5 million rupiah, so 150,000, about 150,000 Australian dollar per year. So this is a significant effort. So that is when we expect that these things will be moving on after you guys receiving our seed grant. The activities of Research Network consists of two. One is providing this seed grant, and the other one is a research workshop. The main goal of the research workshop is actually helping those receiving the grant to strengthening their research activities. So that's why we ask them to present whatever they have in the last 6 months, because they the one that we invite right now is receiving the grant last year, so probably almost a year after they receive the grant. And we also invite other prominent Indonesian academic to give input. So some of about 40% of people in this room are not receiving the research grant, but they are prominent Indonesian academic on a certain field. So hopefully this activity could be helping the Indonesian academic to improve their performance. So with that, again, I hope you can be active in this 2 days workshop, and think maybe next time you will have an opportunity or be willing to trying to apply if you haven't. And if you already received the grant right now, please think about how to develop your collaborative work with your Australian and Indonesian partner so that you can develop a bigger activity in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Bud. Do we have any questions or anything like that? We're ahead of time, which is amazing. Very rarely happens. But do you want to? Are there any queries or comments, or you want to say something just before we go on? It's probably a little bit early to have thought of questions. Okay, well then we'll move on. As I say, we're a little bit ahead of time. So the next speaker is Ben Wilson, who's the Managing Editor of the BIS, the Bulletin of Indonesian Economic Studies. I hope you all subscribe, but if you don't, please do. Ben has been the Managing Editor now for 3 years, Ben? Almost 4 years. And you were extremely lucky to get him after Liz Drysdale, who had taken that job for over 20 years, stepped down, and there was someone just as dedicated and just as good to step into her shoes. So it was wonderful. And Ben is going to talk for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes perhaps, and he's going to talk about submissions to the BIS, some of the technical aspects of submitting papers and issues to do with the editorial process. So I'll hand over to Ben.
Thanks, Chris. Oh, great. Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. So I'm just going to talk today about the benefits of choosing BIS as the destination for your research, and also how to give yourself the best chance of being published in BIS. So a little bit about the journal. So there are 2 editions. On the left here we have the international edition published by Taylor and Francis, and on the right the Indonesian edition published by CSIS. They're both in English, just that the one on the right is subsidised for Indonesian residents. The journal was founded in 1965 at ANU, and it's been published continuously since then. It comes out 3 times a year, in April, August and December. Its flagship series of articles, the Survey of Recent Developments, opens every issue, and it has chronicled and analysed Indonesia's economic development since 1965. So I'd like to talk about what we, and on behalf of the editorial team, what we're looking for from researchers when they submit to BIS. I guess the general description is applied economics focusing on policy relevant analysis. And I'd ask you to bear in mind the difference between economic analysis and econometrics. Sometimes we receive papers that do little more than demonstrate an author's skill in using econometric techniques with Sussinus numbers or something like that, whereas we prefer prefer the submissions to be relevant to current policy in Indonesia. But we don't just publish straight economics. I just need to go back, actually. Is that me changing that? Thank you. Sorry. We don't just publish straight economics. It's the Bulletin of Indonesian Economic Studies, not the Bulletin of Indonesian Economics. So we also publish papers on environment, government and politics, demography, education and health. And in fact our most popular paper last year was a political science paper on Jokowi's first year, and it's one of Taylor and Francis's most downloaded papers in the social sciences, so that's good. Now, benefits of publishing in BIS. The journal is widely read in Indonesia and internationally. 2 of the top 3 institutions by downloads are in Indonesia. Potential authors receive rigorous peer review, double-blinded rigorous peer review, and comments from the editors. The turnaround time is quick as well. In the last year, the average, it's been 37 days from submission through to final decision. We also give authors an accepted manuscript online option. So that means if your paper is accepted, it can immediately, or within, say, a week and a half, 2 weeks, that accepted version can go on the Taylor and Francis website before copy editing, so it then gets a DOI and is citable. So if you want to disseminate your research, it's a good way of doing it. We also do a lot with accepted authors, published authors, to promote their article. We encourage them to write a blog based on their article, and we have a good relationship with East Asia Forum that many of you probably know, to publish blog posts based on the journal article for BIS. And we also do a lot on social media. And there are other variables here, but since we started our Facebook and Twitter accounts in 2013, downloads have increased by an average of 60% a year. That also has something to do with our free access initiative, perhaps, but I'll get to that later. So to give yourself the best chance of publishing in BIS, I think the best piece of advice I have is to actually read BIS, because that will give you an indication of what we have published in the past and what we'll continue to publish in the future. Also, if you are thinking of submitting to the journal, then I'd strongly suggest reading the instructions to authors very carefully, because if you don't follow the instructions for authors, it suggests to the editors that you're not serious about publishing in our journal, or any journal really, because they're not really so hard to follow. So that's one piece of advice. I would also ask you to put a lot of consideration into your title and your abstract, because that is the first thing the editors will see, and if the title and the abstract don't convince the editors that the rest of your paper is worth reading, then they probably won't go any further. So that's important to have a concise title and an effective abstract. And if you're not sure, if you read BIS and you're not sure whether your paper fits into our scope, and you've read the aims and scope, and you're not sure whether your paper fits in with our aims and scope, then feel free to contact us and send us an abstract of your paper. We'll be happy to tell you whether we think it will fit and whether you should submit, or whether you should find another destination for your research. But there are other ways of contributing to BIS as well, other than 10,000 word papers on economic analysis, etc. We also publish book reviews. And I should say we have Sarah, our book review editor, up there, and Patro, one of the editors of the journal as well. But we like our book reviews to contribute to the debate themselves, rather than just reviewing the book, especially reviewing books in the format, chapter 1 says this, chapter 2 says this, chapter 3 says this. We're really not interested in those. We'd prefer book reviews that look at the theme of the book they're reviewing and then expand to discuss that theme or to respond to that theme using the book reviewer's expertise. Because when we invite a book reviewer, it's because they have expertise in a specific field, so we're interested in their take on the theme. Okay. Another way of contributing to BIS is through PhD abstracts. Now this is, you're very privileged because this is our new BIS journal website with a new thesis abstract from a colleague of ours at ANU. So we used to publish PhD abstracts in the hard copy and online, but we've moved them to this website, and I'm in the process of adding every PhD abstract the journal's published, so that's quite a few since 2003, onto bisjournal.org. So if you are a recent PhD graduate, or if you're supervising a PhD student who's about to graduate and their work is within the BIS scope, please encourage them to submit their 500-word PhD abstract to us. I will put it up on the website, and it's all free to access, obviously. And it's a great way of disseminating their research and also informing the BIS community, keeping them up to date with current research on the Indonesian economy. Let's see. And I mentioned our work with social media before, in promoting articles to as many readers as possible. But it's now easier than ever, particularly in Indonesia, for people to access BIS. So starting in 2014, with support of DFAT and the help of UNPAD, we rolled out a free access initiative to more than 50 institutions across Indonesia. Now, this isn't extremely scientific because I'm an English graduate, not an economist. But these are article views since 2014 by quartile in the participating institutions. As you can see, most of the downloads have come from Java, but and our highest downloading institutions are, I'll just read the top 6 because I won't read all of them. The American Corner at Universitas Syaraf Hidayatullah, Universitas Sebelas Maret, UI, PSAK, Universitas Erlangga, and Akatiga. And I won't mention the ones that don't use the downloads, but if you're at an Indonesian institution and you're not receiving free access to BIS, please go to the website I just showed you before, bisjournal.org, and there's a full list of the 52 participating institutions. And if your institution is on that list and you can't access the journal, please contact your librarian if you have one, or your administrator, or you can email us and we will see why your access isn't working or what the story is. The goal of the initiative is is basically to get Indonesian institutions to subscribe to BIS. So as we get to the end of the initiative, which is end of this year, we're hoping we'll have a bunch of institutions who are interested in subscribing, so we can go to Taylor and Francis, the publisher, and say, look, we have X number of institutions in Indonesia who would like to subscribe to the journal. Can we offer a group subscription rate? Because the full price for an institution to subscribe to BIS is $507 US a year, and 105 for a personal subscription. So we're hoping, the more interested institutions in Indonesia there are, the more leverage we have with the publisher to approach them about giving us a better price. So we'll be in touch with the participating institutions over the next few months to try and get the numbers up. And you can also subscribe to BIS through CSIS, as I showed the 2 editions at the start. But and the CSIS edition is 250,000 rupiah a year, but you only get 3 hard copies for that. Whereas if you have the full Taylor and Francis subscription, you have complete access to everything the journal's published since 1965. It's a very valuable resource for researchers because it goes so far back, particularly the survey, as I said, tracing the economy since 65. So there's the URL, bisjournal.org. The top email address, bis@anu.edu.au. If you send the email to that address, I'll forward it on to either Sarah, the book review editor, or the editors, or me. And please follow us on Twitter and Facebook as well. I'd be happy to hear any questions, and I'll also be here throughout the conference, so feel free to come and ask me any questions anytime. That's about all I have for you today.
Terrific, Ben. Thank you very much. Well, there's one important message there, and that is if your institution does not subscribe or you don't access BIS, you should do it in the interests of all Indonesian researchers, because it'll become cheaper in the future. So please mention to your colleagues that engagement will certainly help Indonesian researchers in general. So we have, as I mentioned before, we are well ahead of time. So does anyone have any questions or comments on Ben's presentation. I mean, how to access the BIS as an author. Maybe Sarah or Acho may also have some comments or additions. Are there any? Yeah, Budy.
So I know that some of you over here are not an economist, but Ben has mentioned that the interest of the bulletin is not limited to economics paper. In fact, we actually got political science, demography, anthropology paper that should discuss about development policy related to Indonesia. And there could be also a topic that produced by people from the engineering department, as long as it is the policy aspect, not the technical aspect. So we think to broadening up the scope of the bulletin, although we are not going to change the name, but there has been a tendency to be like that.
Any queries? Any comments? Well, one statistic that stuck out for me from Ben's presentation was that the turnover time from when you submit your paper to when you get the decision is 37 days. I think that's very good by international standards. So, yeah, incredible. Luar biasa. So yeah, that suggests how efficiently the editorial staff work.
I should say that's the last 12 months.
That's the last 12 months. So, do we have any indication before that? Oh, please. Could you just mention your institution or your name?
So we get about, I think we get about 70 submissions a year, and the rejection rate is 77%. All the sevens. Again, that's the last 12 months.
And a lot of those submissions are not that serious, so I think we should say it's about 50% or something like that. Well, that's playing through the statistics, yeah. Any other comments or queries? Well, I should, in that case, thank Ben. Thank you very much, Ben, for your presentation. We're about 20 minutes ahead of time, so I should hand over to the committee to decide what we should do now. Do we have an extended coffee break, which should start at 10? Or maybe we just move forward 20 minutes? Because it depends whether there's coffee out there. Just move forward? Well, then we will break now for coffee and reconvene at 10 a.m. Yeah? Provided coffee's there. Yeah. All right. So reconvene at 10, and thanks very much for the contribution, Ben. All right. That's yours. All right. We have a break. Yeah, break for 20 minutes. Was it not clear? Okay. Now it's Mr. Well done, man. It was great. You didn't sound